Okay. Okay, can I have a volunteer to read the social emotional development quote? Ryan?
Social development is composed of the behaviors, attitudes, and effects integral to a children's interactions with adults and peers.
Thank you, Ryan. So the social development is composed of a lot of what we're going to be talking about, behaviors, which is a large piece of what Pyramid Plus discusses, their attitudes, and then this is the big piece right here. What we're going to talk about is the how it affects their interactions with adults and peers. That's the big piece right there tonight. So I mean, this is the door to understanding why a parent and a child can butt heads, or a teacher and a student. How is it that this 3-year-old is winning this argument right now? We've all said it. It's okay. Okay, so challenges in defining social emotional development. Marley, would you mind reading for me the list?
Emotional behavior is internal. Variability. Social emotional behavior does not occur in a vacuum. Family and cultural attributes.
Great, thank you. Thank you. All right, so the challenges in defining it in the social emotional development, one of those dynamics is the emotional behavior is internal. Think back on those moments when your emotions are involved with the dynamic of information that you've been given, or an event that you experienced. Variability, again, there's variables that are going to cause our emotions to go up and down throughout the day. We're going to experience a lot of different dynamics. Social and emotional behavior does not occur in a vacuum. It's one of those dynamics that we assume that children are going to just always be happy, and then when we limit a behavior, then we'll see an emotion present itself, but that's not the case. And there are a lot of times when children are experiencing emotions and they don't yet know how to identify those emotions. And that's where it's our job to really help support them in that understanding. Okay? And then family and cultural attributes. So on the handouts, session 4.1, social emotional development. So developing capacity is the dynamic of forming close and secure adult and peer relationships. We want to experience, regulate, and express emotions in socially and culturally appropriate ways. And we want to explore the environment, and we want to learn trust, self-awareness, and autonomy. Okay? We're gonna go into that a little bit more here soon. And all of this is in the context of family, community, and culture. At home, at school, and in the world, in our locations. And that handout is the CEFL definition of social and emotional development. So I really encourage you to take the time to really peruse that handout and look at the areas of social and emotional development. It could be, like, just briefly, they list responding to and initiation interactions between caregivers, siblings, adults, and peers, meeting physical and social needs, participating in cooperative and social activities, managing behavior and resolving conflict. That's a big one. And then showing empathy. So CEFL has some really great resources on, in addition to this sheet that we printed out, Understanding Temperaments in Infants and Toddlers. This this document was, I felt it was really educational, and I really enjoyed reading it just because it really did have some really great insights into the world around developing the capacity around social and emotional development. Okay. So we're going to explore the correlation of temperament and attachment, all right? And it's important to understand that emotional regulation is critical to developing healthy, satisfying, and acceptable social emotional behavior, because once you understand that, then you are in a stronger place to help to support a child's social emotional behaviors, okay? So temperament can affect either in a negative way or a positive way, okay? And depending on the temperament match between an adult and a child, temperament is built in and it can be detected in a child's life very early on, okay? So Thomas, Chess, and Birch in 1963, they were pioneers in temperament research. They categorized a good match between parent temperament and child temperament promotes attachment. And a mismatch can hinder that attachment between a parent and a child. If the two are not a natural fit, then what we need to understand is that it's the adult's responsibility to adapt to the child's temperament rather than expect the child to adapt to ours, okay? And we're going to talk more about what those temperaments are and what that looks like in relation to us adapting to them. When you think about your own temperaments, consider your own attachment process with the children that you work with, you know, and also with the parents too. Your participation can be the one to help a parent understand temperament in a mismatch, which could be getting in the way of attachment between that parent and that child. Okay, so really important material for us to understand so that we can better support these children with those connections between their friends, their parents. When I was going through a lot of this material, I think one of those dynamics that I notice is the difference for me is the obvious when you see a parent picking up their child at the end of the day. If you see that it's, you know, the child runs up to them, they're excited, they're happy, everything just seems like, you know, the positive dynamic, then, you know, you're thinking, great, that's wonderful, like, they're so happy to see their parent, everything is just positive, but there's always that child that the parent shows up and the parent is so excited to see their child at the end of the day, and that child is like, no, I don't want to go home, and running from them. And now it doesn't mean that there's not an attachment, it just means that their attachment has had to go through different dynamics because this child could be, this child could be very feisty, which is one of the terms that we're going to talk about with temperament. And we have some parents that do a great job at adapting to their child's temperament because, you know, they will set limits and they'll say, okay, I know that you want to walk around and tell every single teacher goodbye in the building for 25 minutes, but then when we're done, then we're going to walk to the car together. So again, to really help to support that child, knowing that this is what they need and this is, we don't want to use the term strong-willed, but essentially this is their routine and this is what the child needs to be able to get to that next step, okay? All right, so then temperament is, when you look at the research, it's biological. We are born with these temperaments. We don't learn them. It's what a lot of the information from Thomas and Chess states. And it changes, or excuse me, it doesn't change. It's pretty consistent over time. So my temperament as a child is pretty close to the temperament that I am as an adult, okay? I am a flexible person. I was a flexible child, I'm a flexible adult. I can adapt to other people's temperaments and personalities pretty easily. And part of that is I'm the firstborn, and so I was a parent pleaser, and I've always been a people pleaser, and so that's me. That's how I've always been. Realizing that, and understanding the dynamics based around that, it's kind of interesting. I enjoy that and learning more about that. Temperament can affect a child's reactions to other people and the environment as well, too. So, let's see. Attachment. Attachment is a pattern of interaction that develops over time as the children and the caregiver engage and interact. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about the temperament types. So there are there were terms that they used to describe temperaments, originally, and some of these I think when you hear that you'll say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We use terms like that. A very easygoing child, easy. We don't say easy anymore. Now we say flexible. Slow to warm. The child who's always very apprehensive, can be shy. They take time to build that bond or that connection with you. That can be your fearful child. And then we don't use the term difficult. The term used to be difficult. That was their temperament. They were a difficult child. What we want to say now is we use the term feisty. Feisty, I think that works. I think it's a positive, way of describing the child. It doesn't have a negative connotation, I don't think. I mean, anybody have a difference of opinion on that one?
Doesn't fearful sound more negative than the other term? I think.
You think fearful sounds more negative than slow to warm?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that
Maybe.
kind of puts a different
Yeah.
spin on it.
Could be, yeah.
Feisty is a little too positive.
Yeah, they were going for the alliteration.
Deb doesn't want to be labeled.
Yes, we don't label. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know that there's any, there could be conversations around it, just on those proper terminologies for it, but now instead of difficult, now we say feisty. Feisty could still, it doesn't, when I hear the word feisty, I don't know, I kind of feel like it could just be that child that they know what they want, they may have a difficulty in expressing it. There may be a dynamic where, they're trying to learn to articulate, but they know what they want, they know when they want it, they want to, to try that on their own. It could be that they, they have perfectionist tendencies, some dynamic where, allow me to do this, this is my project. I kind of see that as a positive. I see that as a more of a dynamic where a child really wants to be involved in that. Obviously, there are different dynamics to that feisty too. So your temperament traits, there are 9 traits, and these are the different dynamics that can fall within those temperaments. So we've got the activity level, which can always be active to generally still, or we've got the biological rhythms, which is they know exactly when they're going to be hungry, they know exactly when they're going to be tired, they know exactly when they're going to have to go to the bathroom, those dynamics. Approach or withdrawal, response to new situations. How do they respond to a new transition, or a new school, or new friends? And mood, tendency to react with positive or negative mood. They could be attentive, happy, serious, fussy. And then intensity of reaction, there's the energy or the strength of the emotional reaction. I look at this one, the intensity of the reaction. Think about when a child gets injured. If it's just the tiniest little, just super, super superficial, but I mean, there are huge tears and, you know, trying to catch our breath and, you know, because for them that really is an intense situation. And then there's a child where they're like, you know, there's blood just pouring and they're like, I'm okay, I'm gonna go play, you know.
I need to get a little structure. Leave me alone.
We're like, no, we seriously need